Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and get started. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Fall 2024 Academic Personnel Processing webinar. My name is Eric Cuevas. I am the lead operations technician in the Office of Human Resources. And joining us today is several members of the Faculty Affairs team. First off, we have Kim Posen McConnell joining us. We also have Ashley Thompson joining us as
Hello.
well. Hey, Ashley. We also have Albert Alcazar be presenting as well on some additional pay topics. And we also have Whitney Scott from Faculty Development, who will also be speaking a little bit and sharing some information on the new faculty orientation for lectures. But yes, let's go ahead and share the agenda for today. So yes, we'll have Whitney Scott right at the top share more on new faculty orientation. I'll provide some update on salary increases, as well as the dates that have been posted on the part-time faculty module. Uh, yes, then the faculty affairs team will be sharing on Unit 11 and faculty appointments, as well as the appointment letter process, additional work, and how that gets paid out. Then I'll be speaking more on the background checks and the sign-in process, as well as benefits, module processing, uh, yeah, and also going over a brief overview on the master payroll certification process, and then also leave some time at the end for Q&A and wrapping up summer and the previous academic year. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Whitney. Whitney, can you hear me?
I can. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Again, my name is Whitney Scott, and I'm the Director of Faculty Development. And we have this great honor in our office of being able to help onboard and welcome all new faculty, both tenure track, but then also lectures. And so we've actually been doing a lecture, new faculty orientation. We've partnered with HR for a number of years. We were one of the few CSUs that did this long ago. So we just want to ask for your help. We know that you have a very important role in onboarding newly hired lecturers. And so in your process, whether you're working with the chair, if you can help promote to your new lecturers that we do have a full program available for them. So this year, it's on the first day of the contract, Wednesday, August 21st. It's on Zoom from 10 to 4:30. And we recognize that, a lot of times our lectures are working other places. And so it's not uncommon for our lectures to be trying to task switch. So, it's fine if they can only come for a portion. We'll take them however they feel like they can show up. Because we have found that they report back to us how incredibly helpful it is. For instance, I'm just going to share a couple of quotes. The last time we did this, some quotes were, "This orientation made me feel welcome and more prepared to start my new teaching journey. Thank you so much for sharing all the resources. I thought it was well organized. I love it when somebody has low expectations for us, but it comes with a compliment. I thought this was going to be boring, but it was very helpful. So we like that. And one of the things that's really great is that we also partner with IT, and so that comes through in comments. I thought it was really the information was helpful. Nice to know where to find additional resources and information from IT. And so IT comes for a good portion of this time, and we set it up so that they can ask all their questions of HR and IT so that they leave this day ready for a bunch of ideas on how to get started teaching. So I'm putting in the chat the link to our new faculty orientation where they can sign up. We already have over 40 RSVPs, and it's my understanding some fall semesters we can hire over 200 new lectures. That's a lot of individuals that need orienting. So we're happy to do that. and you could share with them if they say, I can't go to that. Okay, no problem. We have a self-paced number of resources called the New Faculty Handbook. So that's a Canvas site that's open and public and available right now. And so somebody could access a lot of the information there. But if you happen to be talking with somebody, share with them, yeah, I heard the topics that, it's faculty development programs and resources, like a teaching toolkit, what to do the first day of class, HR, CFA, and IT. And so this is for, hi, Michelle. This is for any faculty that are teaching, whether it's for undergraduate courses or graduate level courses, and any faculty member. We don't offer this necessarily to TAs, though. I will say that. I think there are other programs for TAs to learn how to, but that's more focused on teaching. This is a little bit more holistically for lectures. What other questions can I answer for you? I believe we're going to send out one more reminder to both department coordinators and chairs, because we know sometimes this last week can be a last minute hire. So people are welcome. I mean, we're welcome to take people. They get hired yesterday. The orientation is the next day. That's fine because it's on Zoom. Can existing lecturers attend? Maybe. I mean, we're not opening it up to serve all, is there 1,200, 1,500 lectures? We don't have where the Zoom, the program isn't designed for that, but I get it. Sometimes people didn't get it. And so we want to be as inclusive. If somebody feels like they need it, we'd rather serve them. But we're not trying to send it to all lectures. Yeah, yeah. So okay, good question, Maria, about the Canvas. It's a unique Canvas. It's a public site, so anybody, you all can look at it. If you click that link, you will be able to see anything in that handbook. Anything else? I'll stay on for a couple more minutes if anybody has some lingering questions, but Eric and team, thanks so much for giving me a time to share.
Thank you so much, Whitney. Really appreciate it. Very useful resource for our new lectures. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So also wanted to give an update on the salary increases. I know this has kind of been a hot button topic, kind of something that's been in the back of everyone's mind. So just wanted to share an update as what we have as of right now. We are currently awaiting guidance from the Chancellor's office, and that guidance is usually in the form of what we call a technical letter, which provides the specific kind of parameters on how we would go about processing the stipulated salary increases. So what we know so far is that effective July 1st, 2024, there will be a 5% general salary increase for all eligible Unit 3 and Unit 11 employees. I also was made aware that the salary range minimums and maximums will be increased by 5% as well. And yes, the State Controller's Office will be running a mass update to transact these general salary increases the week of August 12th, 2024. And so this information is then transmitted to our campus payroll teams. We review it, and we also update our Oracle PeopleSoft or Solar HR. I believe it's the campus-facing portion. So it'll be updated on their end, on that end as well. So it kind of needs to be a tag team kind of effort with the payroll system and our system that operations maintains. And yes, as far as the service salary increases, so that will be sequenced after the posting of the GSIs. We'll be working with our faculty affairs team to ensure that those are being reviewed and that's all being considered as well. Um, as far as for continuing faculty, the expectation of when this increase will be reflected would be on their August paycheck. So that meaning that it would be at the end of August. That's when that increase would be reflecting. As far as new tenure track and lectures, so those are not adjusted for GSI unless that was specifically mentioned in their job offer that it mentioned the increase, or uh, yeah, they are in their minimum range in their rank goes up, then you know their salary would be adjusted due to that if there's an increase to the floor of the minimum salary. Um, but yes, as far as those who taught um, spring only, uh, and their last payment was the month of July, the kind of residual monies, those will be addressed separately and will require a separate internal audit to ensure that those are also adjusted, given that their pay does carry into that period of time. Um, so yes, so more to come on that. More will be communicated out with the campuses once we know more. Um, but yes, this is what we have as of right now. And yes, so the part-time faculty module is now open. And so for the dates for the academic year of 2024, 2025, we have the following dates that have been being posted for the following three job codes. So for 2358, we have the one semester fall only appointment and shown here. We're also going to be posting the spring one once we get into obviously into spring and around January, we'll be posting that default date. But we also have the 1 year appointment and the 3 year appointment noted below. Just note for the Y3 appointment for the part-time lectures, that is our tentative date, but that is what we're going to be going ahead and posting as the end date for the Y3 appointments. So for teaching associates, they are able to work a one semester appointment, in this case for the fall only, or they're also able to work a academic year appointment. So it's coded as Y1. And so it spanned the entire academic year for 24, 25. And for graduate assistants, these fall under a different kind of pay schedule. These are paid out beginning in or their first appointment date begins the first day of the September pay period, which in this case would be August 30th. And then they'd be paid for 5 equal installments. And so their appointment would end at the end of January. Their spring appointment then begins the first day of February, and it carries on until the end of June. So although they are considered AY, their payment plans are kind of shifted a little bit differently when compared to obviously the part-time lecturers or the teaching associates. Yes, just a little bit more on the appointment notices for Unit 11, the academic student employees. So the colleges and departments must provide these academic student employees with an appointment notice at least 90 days prior to the effective date of the appointment, but it's or rather more realistically, as soon as possible after the hiring decision is made. These appointment notice templates are posted to the our HR toolkit, but also on the Faculty Affairs website. But these packets must also include the description of duties form, which I know the Faculty Affairs team will be talking about a little bit further into the presentation. Oh, I see a question. So, Myrna?
Yes, just a quick question. On the last sentence, it says appointment notice packet must include the ASE. Is that the announcement that was originally made in the description of duties? That means 2 forms, right? That should be given in the package to the TAs.
Faculty Affairs? You guys want to?
Do you think that might be a typo? ASE description of duties form Appendix E. Is that what you mean, Eric? See that red text?
Yeah,
I think maybe that's just a typo. ASE description of duties form Appendix E.
I guess what she's asking is that would that form also be included in with the appointment letter?
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Yes.
So in essence, it would be three forms: the appointment letter, the ASC description, and the description of duties. Or is that ASC description of duties form?
That's one thing. Yeah, I think that's a typo, just no
Oh,
comma there.
got it, got it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem.
Apologies for the comma there.
No worries.
Okay. So onto the appointment notices for faculty. And for Unit 11, TAs, GAs, and ISAs, just a little bit more on how to get that letter. There is, for those who have access to Solar HR queries, there is the NRHR PTF appointment letter that's available to them to run. And you can be able to generate the letters and the information to create essentially like a mail merge with the letter templates that we have posted on HR Toolkit. One thing to note though, for any lecturers who are on a 3-year appointment, they will need letters to be generated manually if they don't have any changes posted in the module. I know this used to come up quite often, just given if there was a faculty member who has an ongoing appointment, but no change as far as their unit count, anything to that kind of effect, the letter wouldn't generate. You would have to, enter in that information manually because there technically isn't anything to pull from our PeopleSoft system. So if the faculty member is not showing up when you run this query, then what we advise is that you leave the fields blank, you run them, and then you filter down to your respective college. For more instructions, we also have our quick guide that we've posted on the HR Toolkit. But yes, contact your operations technician should you have any additional questions.
Okay, I think this is me now.
All right.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for letting us Faculty Affairs present at this webinar today. And as a thanks for tuning in, you can hear me, right? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Because I didn't want you to miss this one I'm about to say. As a thanks for tuning in, we have a surprise for you. Like, really, you are the first ones who are going to hear this announcement later on in the webinar. If this were TikTok, we'd say stay tuned for part 2. But really, we have a really cool announcement later in the webinar. But first, let's talk about the procedures that need to be followed before hiring and in case of resignation or appointment decline. Okay, so before hiring, open hire positions. Positions must be posted using the ASE1 form. This step is crucial for transparency and compliance with hiring protocols. The SC1 form ensure that there is a signed SC1, which is the Statement of Professional Preparation and Experience, on file with the department for each candidate. And then the SC1 employee sign-in form. All TAs and GAs must complete and sign this form as part of their sign-in process. Okay, now resignation or declining appointment. Sadly, but it happens. Written notification is required. If an employee decides to decline appointment or resign from their position, they must submit a written letter stating their decision and the effective date. However, confirmation of discussion. If the written confirmation is not received, the hiring department should send or email a confirmation of the discussion and the details regarding the withdrawal. Just have it be in writing. Separation PAR. Submit a separation PAR to Human Resources to officially separate the employee effective the last date of the appointment period. We might remember what happens, but in the future, we want to go back and see it in writing. Failure to perform duties. If there are issues with performance, the hiring department or supervisor should consult with us, Faculty Affairs, for guidance and resolution. We are here to help you. So if there's a problem, just come and talk to us and let's talk about it together. These procedures are essential for maintaining proper documentation and handling changes in staffing effectively. Okay, next slide. Is it me doing the slides? I don't think it is. Okay, here we go. All right, ISAs. So to begin, let's start with the role of instructional student assistants, or ISAs. This category includes ISA on campus work study, ISA off-campus, ISA off-campus work study. ISAs are instrumental in providing academic support through duties such as teaching, grading, or tutoring. Now, it's crucial to understand when we refer to teaching in this context, it's more like supplemental instruction, like teaching someone calculus. It's not like teach an entire class. That is what a TA does, not an ISA. I realize that might be a little bit unclear, but that is what we mean by teaching, like think like teach someone calculus, not teach a class. Okay, this distinction helps clarify the role of ISAs in supporting academic learning without the full scope of classroom management. Don't put them in charge of a whole class, not yet. Okay, next slide. Let's see, TA, okay. Thought that was the next slide. All right, teaching associate TA. Moving on to teaching associates. TAs are CSU graduate students who gain practical teaching experience in their field. They are classified as TA for academic year or TA for monthly term. TAs are, you might say, more similar to lecturers than the other ASC positions. They're not lecturers, right? But if you think what position is more similar to lecturers, you would say that's TA. TAs can work up to 40 hours a week if this is their sole appointment. They teach university courses and they assist with various professional activities. Unlike ISAs who focus on supplemental instruction, like teaching someone calculus, TAs handle full class teaching responsibilities. Keep in mind that TAs with additional roles, such as a GA or ISA, must limit their combined total to 20 hours per week. So TA by itself can equal 40 hours max. TA plus anything else can equal 20 hours max. Okay, next slide. Okay, so next, let's turn to graduate assistants. This role involves assisting faculty with duties related to the assistant's graduate duties, including supervising students, training on equipment or resources, assisting with research in course material preparation, evaluating students' work, and tutoring students. Okay, so we do not officially use the term research assistant, but in your mind, you could sort of think of GAs in that way if you think of a research assistant that is sort of similar to a GA, but that's not what we call them, right? I'm just helping you to distinguish it and in terms of thinking about them, categorizing them. So GAs involve significant research support and academic assistance. Okay, I think I had a question. Who sends the new faculty member the SC1 form to sign? Who sends the signed SC1 form to the department? The coordinator can do that. Sort of anyone can do that. Okay, I'll come back to you, Cynthia, who had that question for me. Okay, next slide, I think. Great, so here we have the specifics for graduate assistant appointments. Academic year appointments, job code 2355. These positions span from September 1st through January 30th for fall, February 1st through June 30th for spring, with salaries ranging from 3090 to 4171. GAs hired under job code 2355 are engaged in a defined body of work. They will receive 5 checks for their services. For any job-related questions, contact us, Office of Faculty Affairs. Okay, now monthly appointments for GAs. These are typically short-term and by exception with salaries between 3246 and 5783. Monthly GAs are hired for short-term tasks. They must be terminated via a PAR form. It's PAR form, PAR, yeah. It's advisable to submit PAR form, okay. It's advisable to submit, I've never said it out loud before, I guess. Okay, so it's advisable to submit both appointment and separation PARs together to streamline the process. Okay, next slide. Okay, so Article 2.9 outlines what needs to be communicated regarding appointments and notifications. So these include the faculty member or supervisor to whom the individual will report, the work location, the assigned class if applicable, the time and place of orientations, and the specific duties and expectations of the appointment. Now remember, job descriptions must align exactly with the classification standards and the UAW Unit 11 contract. We cannot use vague terms like other duties as assigned. This is crucial to avoid ambiguity and to ensure compliance. Think of it like that scene with Captain Phillips movie with Tom Hanks. In the movie, Tom Hanks' character gathers all the sailors and he says, "Okay, men, we've got to all band together to fight the pirates." And one of the crew goes, wait. My union contract says nothing about fighting pirates. And he's right. So, in the same way, do not ask your ASCs to fight pirates figuratively or literally. Clarity and precision are essential. Okay, what happened? Next slide.
Sorry about that.
Next slide should be about the form. Wait.
Sorry, having some
Yes,
technical
that's the form.
difficulties
That's the
here.
form.
Sorry
No
about that.
worries. No worries. Okay, form availability is our next slide. So for more details on job descriptions, you can refer to Appendix E, description of duties form, available on Faculty Affairs website. It's valuable for ensuring job descriptions meet the necessary standards. Also, as I mentioned, really carefully read the classification standards. That's also on our website. When in doubt, quote the classification standards. It's very helpful, and it's what the Unit 11 has reached in their bargaining. So we certainly want to abide by that. Okay, next. Okay, speaking of union access and rights. So Article 23.14 provides the union with 30 minutes to present information during various orientations, campus, college-wide, and tutoring center orientations, also department orientations if not all unit members have attended other orientations. For unit-related inquiries, you can contact the union president. You can also check with us at Faculty Affairs if you want to run something by us. Again, we are here to help you. Okay, next. Okay, a classification reminder. Quick reminder, the Instructional Student Assistant, ISA role under Unit 11 is distinct from the Student Assistant, SA role. SA's Student Assistant, the second one, do more things like clerical work, answering phones, whereas ISAs do you remember from a few slides ago? Teaching, grading, tutoring, like teaching calculus, right? That is ISA. Accurate classification is vital to ensure proper role designation and compliance. It is okay if you start out thinking you would like to hire an ISA, but come to find out maybe you actually want to hire an SA, answer phones, so forth. No problem. We just want to make sure we're very clear on which role is which. Okay, next slide. Okay, cancellation of classes and assignments. Finally, let's discuss cancellation policies. Teaching associate and graduate assistant appointments are generally non-conditional, cannot be canceled based on budget or enrollment, except for spring semester of academic year appointments. However, instructional student assistant appointments are conditional. They may be rescinded due to budget and enrollment changes. You might have had that happen to you for this semester. In the event of a rescinded appointment, teaching associates will be paid for class hours taught, whereas GAs and ISAs will be compensated for the hours worked, not the classes taught, right? You don't have an ISA teaching a class. For workload issues or concerns about appointment duties, you can contact us at Faculty Affairs. And a final plug, if you like reading flowcharts, have we got a fun flowchart for you? We have a flowchart on our Faculty Affairs website called the 11 Steps of Hiring Unit 11 Student Employees, which might help you. This might help answer your question also, Cynthia and Myrna. Wait, Myrna has a quick question. Is mentoring ISA or SA classification? Mentoring could be either, Myrna. Depends what are the other things they are doing. Okay, so you can check out this flowchart and follow along with a little stick man to see what needs to be done to hire an ASE. And now I think I hand it off to Ashley.
Hello. So let's talk about the cancellation of classes and assignments. Appointments can be conditional or non-conditional. Conditional means they can be canceled or rescinded because of budget or enrollment. And then non-conditional is they cannot be canceled or rescinded. Unit 3 appointments for full-time lecturers, which are 30 units per academic year, are not conditioned on budget or enrollment. Part-time lecturers, however, classes may be canceled prior to the third class meeting, so the first or second day of class meeting. Otherwise, the lecture may be paid from the beginning of the semester through the last day worked. Thanks. Entitlements. So, a 1 year entitlement for a part-time lecturer will happen if they have taught both semesters of the prior academic year and you offer them a third semester, so the next fall. Their entitlement would then be the total units or more of the year that they taught previously. And the distribution would be similar to what it was the previous academic year worked. For 3 year appointments, lecturers with a 3 year appointment should have their unit entitlements met before the 1 year entitlements or 1 semester entitlements. They have priority or seniority, I should say. Entitlements will be the same number of units taught in their 6th year or in the last year of their previous 3 year appointment. Again, similar distribution of units over the next 3 years, as in the previous year to start of the 3 year appointment. And 3 year appointments are renewed following determination by appropriate administrator that the lecturer has been rated satisfactory. Oh, sorry, I was reading the comment. I thought that one was for me. So
Sorry,
long as they
sorry.
have a rating of satisfactory and they are absent any serious conduct problems. Thank you. So entitlements. Processing involves the appointment letter and the part-time module or PAR form. Tracking and record keeping are very important. So for an S1 appointment, they've just taught 1 semester. There's no entitlement. For a 1 year appointment, they've taught 2 consecutive semesters. They've been offered that third, and now they're entitled to that 1 year appointment. And then for the 3 year appointments, they had to have taught 6 consecutive years. Notice that it's not semesters, it's years, 6 consecutive years. Oh, the lovely entitlement chart. So the chart just sort of breaks down 7 different scenarios in which someone can earn entitlements. The first one is pretty standard. They have worked fall and spring, so they would, if you offer that third semester, earn an entitlement of 15 units. In the next example, they would have worked fall and spring and again earn an entitlement of 15 units. The summer does not count here. However, in example 3, if they work spring and let me look at Albert here, stateside summer, then they can earn an entitlement of 9 units. In the 4th and 5th scenario, they are working only one, either fall or spring, so they won't be earning any entitlement towards 1 year. That's correct, Albert? Okay. And then in our 6th example here, they're just working summer in general. Lecturers are not earning entitlements by working summer. And again, for example 7, they worked one fall semester and then summer, so they're not, oh, wait, they're not earning any entitlement, but it can go towards their 6 year count towards a 3 year entitlement. Is that right? I haven't done this work in a while. I'm filling in for Albert while Albert is filling in for someone else. So we're all just going to show Ashley Grace.
You're correct.
Okay, next. If there are no classes to offer someone with an entitlement, please just call Faculty Affairs before you handle it yourselves. We love to help you handle things like this. Can an offer be rescinded to a Y1 due to class cancellation of a Y3?
Deanna, I think we need to talk through that scenario. So maybe after, because it could take a few minutes. And if you can call our office, we'd be happy to help you navigate through that.
Thanks, Albert.
Mhm.
And then finally, what we really want to impress upon you in regard to entitlements is just to document. If anybody declines units, resigns, or retires, try to get something in writing from them. If it's a verbal conversation, then have the department chair or yourself send them an email per our conversation. This is what I understood, so that that can be clarified and you have it in writing. You need to submit a PAR and Part 1 of the separation and clearance form as soon as you find out that someone declines units, resigns, or retires, and you need to follow up with Part 2 of the separation and clearance. Now, leave of absence without pay. A faculty member must have an appointment and then submit an application for leave of absence and receive prior approval to declining units in order to maintain any entitlement. LWOP should not be seen as a way to simply preserve entitlements. It's really there to help someone in unusual circumstance. So they should have an appointment and then ask for the LWOP and make sure that it's approved before declining those units. And that's all I got to say about that.
Yes, so I think from here we're going to send it over to Kim again.
Yes, okay. Remember I said the surprise is coming? This is it. So we have an exciting new update about the Total Instructional Employment Disclosure Form called the TIDE form. With many thanks to IT, the TIDE form has been redesigned in OnBase and it's much cooler and simpler to use. You're going to really like it. However, as it relates to this webinar, an important update. Unit 11 employees are no longer required to submit TIDE forms. So no ASCs submitting the TIDE forms anymore. Phew, right? What are you going to do with all your extra time? This form will only be for Unit 3. The reason why Unit 11 does not have to do this anymore is because we're going to audit, or we do audit their workload in other ways. So they don't need to do this form. So the new TIDE form is to be submitted by all Unit 3 employees at the beginning of every fall and spring semester. New things about the form include dynamic sections. Like, have you read Choose Your Own Adventure books? It's sort of like that. Depending on what your appointment is, different portions of the form will show up so that it is easier, more streamlined for you to fill out because it is only as relates to your specific appointment. We have refined language, better layout. It's a more intuitive form. IT, thanks to them, has made the approval system also more automated. If you're someone who approves TIDE forms, there's more efficient routing. And to learn more about this, we're going to send out an announcement today, but you're the first ones to hear about it. But later on, we are going to send the announcement. In the meantime, you can look at our one-stop shop TIDE form website. The link is there. It's on IT. We also have a TIDE tab on our Faculty Affairs website, which also has more information. So we're very excited about this. It's going to be a lot more streamlined, and I think you might actually enjoy it. So that's our big surprise. Okay, back to you, Eric.
Thank you so much, Kim. So I think at this point, we're going to send it over to Albert to speak on additional pay.
Okay, good morning, everyone. As Ashley mentioned, those of you that know Yessie, I'm in filling in for her with additional pay. So thank you for your patience. We get an influx of additional pay requests, and so anyway, moving forward, let's see. Employees can work up to 125%. That's a CBA contractual provision in the faculty contract, and also a CSU-wide limited employment policy. So meaning not, it's not only just for faculty, but also for staff, and sometimes you have a combination of staff and staff that hold a faculty position. But 125% is basically all the workload that faculty and or staff could be limited to. So the 125 in regards to faculty, the work, or let's say the additional work from let's say a full-time workload has to consist of employment that is substantially different in their nature. In other words, their primary appointment is teaching. Other work, could be, whether they maybe are, holding a workshop or what have you. Sometimes it's attending a certain kind of meeting and maybe taking on a new role. And with that new role, I mean, the new role could actually be different things. Now they could be working with extended learning, doing some work there, or the university corporation grant work, which leads us to the second bullet: funded from a non-general fund sources. Now, typically work that they're doing in the university corporation, TUC, is grant work, so that would be non-general fund. When we talk about extended learning work, it could be let's say state or general fund money, but the work is actually different. So this is where the two actually, you could basically go from one to the other. And also the 125, or that 25 limitation, is accrual of part-time employment on more than one CSU campus. So what that means is, on a single campus, a faculty member can work up to 15 units per semester. And they can do an additional 3.75 units. So they could work on multiple campuses, but they cannot exceed 18.75 units total. Okay, so full-time refers to 40 hours per week, which is 100% workload here, which is a 1.0 time base. 25% is approximately about 10 hours a week. So they work 40 hours in 1 week. They have an additional 10 hours that can do that same week. So think about it as they can work 5 days out of the week and an additional day, maybe like a 6th day, right? But not to exceed 50 hours per week. Part-time faculty, they can work up to 125%. Again, the limitation is 50 hours per week. And the reason they can work 125% is because, their workload is actually sometimes less if they're not full-time. And sometimes we refer to part-time faculty that are full-time because they're lecturers, right? But they're part-time faculty, temporary faculty. Okay. Non-exempt staff with additional appointments must be compensated at overtime rates for any hour in excess of 40 hours a week. So if you have staff, doing additional work, it's good to check with also your DFO or your financial operations person in your area, as giving work to staff, could result in an overtime rate payment. An example here is they work 100%, they're full time plus 1 day. You're going to use the 4660 job code with additional pay, which is 1 day is 8 hours equivalent. So again, you can check, with your financial operations and or even reach out to our HR team as well. Next slide, please. Approval of pre-authorization. So employees cannot begin doing the work before the pre-authorization is approved. So we have the additional pay module, and what I always recommend is that if faculty, or that faculty are going to begin doing some work, let's not wait till let's say the day of or the day after, because the system is not going to let you enter or retro pre-authorization. Then you'll have to email the additional pay system, and due to the influx of emails we get, it could be a little while, in particular when it's year end fiscal year. But in any case, you can actually and if you don't know all the particulars of the pre-authorization just yet of the work, you can just enter it and save it. and then when you do, you can, go back to it and go ahead and submit it. So fall term it actually is available, will be available today. It'll be open this afternoon. We'll open up the fall term and the additional pay module. And let's see. Oh, one of the things I would like to say about the pre-authorization, the description box. We'd like to see a full description. It can delay, the approval process, because if you just enter something working on project, I mean that's not enough. We have to have a full statement, a full disclosure as to what type of work they're working on. And the reason for that is for audit purposes. Should there be an audit, we need to know what exactly that work is that it actually is being done. We trust everyone, so also the pre-authorization must include a brief description of a funding source. The request won't let you go further if it's not entered there as well. So we have a question from Sylvia. Do we need a description of work when we use job code 2322? No, I don't believe so, because I think you have the other funding logistics of that additional pay, so you should be okay with that one. Next slide, please. Okay, so information and reminders here for fall 2024, there's 21.25 days available. So that's 25% of the 85 days that we have for fall. And for spring 25, 25% of that is 22 days, which I believe is 88 days for spring 2025. The additional pays, so there's two types that we normally use the most, and this is for job codes 2403. Those are utilized for full-time faculty. So anyone that has a full-time appointment, like our tenure line faculty, or if we have those Y3 30 unit lecturers and they're teaching, full-time 1.0 time base, you're going to use job code 2403. That one is a one-step process. So it starts as the pre-authorization, and by the time it gets to faculty affairs, which will be the last approver, once we approve it, it'll turn into the payment authorization. So that means there's no second additional pay that you have to enter as in the job code 4660, which is a special consultant. That one is a two-step process. You'll enter a pre-authorization. It'll go through its workflow of the approval path. Then after the work is completed, then you have to enter the payment authorization, and you'll have to enter what days were worked. This is for faculty and staff. Under the 2403 job code, that's a monthly pay. So you're working more with a compensation, how many hours per week that they're actually working, and it's a monthly pay. And some of you are familiar with how that works. It can be split up into 2, 3, 4 pay periods. But also we're looking at how many hours per week they're working, and each hour has a salary range, a minimum and a maximum. Okay, viewing access. Only those that initiate or are part of the approval path can actually see the additional pay. So for instance, if you have 2 coordinators in the department, whoever initiated, the second coordinator is not going to be able to see the request because they didn't enter the additional pay and they're not part of the approval pathway. And so we're limited as to how many approvers we can have through the workflow. Final approvers, faculty approves all RO3 requests. That means for all faculty. Human resources approves the ones for staff only, and it says appointments on state and EXL requests. So although faculty affairs may be able to see it, I'm not able to push anything through when it has to do with staff. We have a question here from Blanca. Are there any plans to allow coordinators to see other special pays that are entered for faculty? Just to what I was saying before, unless you're part of you're an initiator or part of the approval path, you're able to see it. If not, then you're not. I don't know. I don't think that there's any plans to change that anytime soon.
Is there any report that can be ran? Because as we're entering this information for special pays, I wish I could say that our faculty were more knowledgeable in what they have agreed to. But many
Uh-huh.
times we find that they overcommit themselves, and then I'm trying to scramble to find time to pay them for the work. So is there like a report I can run and say, hey, you're already at your max, you can't commit yourself to more work?
Oh, well, I don't think that there's a report exactly for that. I don't believe it exists. The only thing I can tell you is that within the additional pay system, there's a tracking mechanism for FTE, and it tells you what other additional work, or let's say how much is actually being utilized. I mean, ultimately, faculty are responsible for knowing, and when they're approving their additional pays, looking at, how much FTE they have left. And so the onus is really on them when it comes to that. We can help, with those types of questions, but just know that it does take a while if when you email the additional pay system for that request, because we just get an influx of, you know, all of the three areas, right? And we're doing
I
it for
can
the whole
imagine
campus.
how many
Yeah.
calls you receive about this.
Yeah. But we will get back to you and on that. And I know planning could be sometimes a little tricky. Okay, if we can move to we have one more. Laura Lau, can we delete super old ad pays in the system that never got completed? I believe we can. There has been times where we haven't been able to, but I want to say it could have been a glitch from way back some years ago, because I've come across maybe a 2017 that I am not able to delete. And I believe IT had tried as well, and so it just kind of lives there. But it's closed out, right? I mean, we can't move it forward or we can't move it backwards. What is the latest we can submit a pre-authorization, or 3 to 4 days prior to work? The latest is if the let's say if the work is tomorrow and you wait till tomorrow, you can still enter the additional pay pre-authorization. But if you wait till the day after, then you're not able to. Okay, if we can move to the next slide. Restrictions, leave of absences. So if a faculty member is on a sabbatical, DIP, an LWAP, which is a leave without pay, they're not able to, anyone is not able to enter additional pay. Now, here, usually the leaves, they have a time frame. So depending on when that time frame ends, and when the semester ends and when it begins, you may not be able to enter it, because in Solar, they're still being registered as on a leave. And HR is not going to be able to change that. So you have to contact Faculty Affairs to be able to do that. But while they're on a leave, okay, on these type of official leaves, they're not supposed to be doing any type of work. Okay, they're restricted to that. For faculty, they're restricted to working 90 academic work days. So they cannot perform work during the summer term. If working only one semester at 100%, they cannot do any additional work during that time. So if any of you have questions about that and you'd like to discuss some of these things, I mean, please contact Faculty Affairs. Rehired annuitants, we have to be careful with rehired annuitants. These are faculty who retire and come back. They're restricted to 960 hours or 50% of their workload preceding retirement, whichever one is less. And this is within a fiscal year. So this is a CalPERS restriction. Okay, we're not the experts. We're not CalPERS. So what I recommend, you can refer them to Faculty Affairs. We'll have a conversation with them, but ultimately, we put the onus back on the faculty member to contact CalPERS because we don't want anything affecting their pension. Okay, can we move to the next slide? Tips, submit pre-authorizations as soon as possible. You may have to steer requests along so that it reaches the FA and HR level. And this is what I was just talking about earlier. You know, try to submit it as soon as you know, and you can save it. You don't have to submit it as long as it's in the system. Keep additional pay deadlines in mind when submitting the requests. It does go through a workflow process. I talked about vague descriptions. It can delay because then we have to reach out to you to see, hey, you know what, we need to have a better description of the work. Work with your chair and dean to offer work to have a game plan for additional pay requests. Always enter comments if you're going to be closing out or denying a request. And when we also do it, we also enter notes there as well. For training guides, we have them on our website under our faculty affairs, and it's under additional pay, so you should be able to see it there. And for questions or requests or issues, please email the additional pay email. Okay, and I think that might be it.
There's one more slide, but just to add.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Yeah, just to add, it's on substitute pay. But just add a little bit on that second bullet on additional paid deadlines. So that is found on the university payroll calendar. We actually have it posted on the 24-25 payroll calendar. There's actually like a whole legend on the left side of the calendar that provides an explanation of what all the symbols mean on that calendar. And I find it to be quite helpful to know that as long as you get your pre-authorization and payment authorization fully approved, let's say the work is for the month of August, and you get it fully approved within the month of August, that pay period, when I run my reports at the beginning of every month to get these payments out for mid-month issuance, it will be routed for September 15th. So that's kind of something that always comes up. They say, in a department will ask, oh, this got approved on, August 4th or August 5th. Can this get paid out for the 15th of August? And it's like, well, no, the deadline was missed. And so we adhere pretty strictly to these, additional pay deadlines. So just want to make sure that everyone is also on the same page and refers to the university payroll calendar. And so they're also on the same, they understand where we're coming from with these deadlines.
Right. And then also I'd like to, just piggyback on that. With University Corporation, they have their own payroll deadlines as well. And I believe they're like bi-monthly or something. Okay, yeah, there's a question here. Who trains new faculty on this additional pay process? I'm going to say that there's no training set up for new faculty, and it's not part of an onboarding process. We have the guides. But sometimes faculty do reach out to us, and we kind of help them navigate through this process. It's a good idea, and we'll revisit that, and we'll explore that to maybe have open sessions on additional pay trainings.
Yeah, that actually is something that Albert and I have been in discussions about, to hopefully try to get this as clear as possible and to have maybe a workshop type presentation type guidance in regards to additional pay.
Running reports, that might be like your department ledger. I don't know who does that. I mean, sometimes it's department and or college, DFO. So you could inquire with them as well. Okay, next slide. Substitute pay. Okay, so with substitutes, substitute assignments cannot exceed 20 calendar days. So we include Saturday and Sunday. If it's going to exceed, then what we say is what you'd like to do is, or the department, your chair may want to increase the lecturer's time base, who's ever going to be covering the class. And what that means is assigning them the units. But when you do pay as a substitute, there's the job code 2356, and then there's for each particular rank, and I believe it starts at rank 3, rank 4, and rank 5. So lecture A, B, and C, I think. No, B, C, and D, sorry. There's a salary range for each one, right? There's one for when they're just doing the lecture for the class, and then there's a lab rate as well. So, and just to remind you, full-time faculty, anyone that's full-time, they should not be doing substitute work, because substitute work is the same as they're like the instructor of record. So they can't do substitute, as additional work. Part-time faculty can, because they're less than full-time. Department should remind lecturers that mid-semester time-based changes and late hires can impact their next final pay warrant because of how academic pay is calculated, including a reduction to the settlement pay. I don't know, Eric, do you have thoughts on that, or maybe want to expand on that?
So yeah, I think this is just in regards to lecturers who have a mid-semester time-based change due to the fact that because of this substitute assignment that exceeds 20 calendar days, their pay calculation ends up changing as far as that final check that happens. I want to say if it's for one semester, it'd be probably around March, or if they're teaching both the academic years, it'd be in August. So yes, that would have an impact. So I know sometimes departments are like, well, or the employee rather is asking, well, how come this is not what I expected as far as this final settlement? And it's because of this mid-semester time-based change. Yeah, so I know that's something that the payroll team kind of works on when they're reconciling the settlement pay. But yes, that just to let the departments know and let everyone know that yes, this does have an impact on their final pay warrant.
Yes, Rochelle, that's correct. Tenure track faculty should not be doing substitute work. If you need, or if you want to have a conversation about that, please call me. And the reason I say that is because sometimes faculty will want to maybe volunteer and say, hey, you know what, I don't mind covering the class. But I definitely want, to actually, if you have questions about that, just contact our office.
Yeah, just to add another little point to the 20 to 56. So in that first scenario, if their substitute assignment doesn't exceed 20 days and they have to work through 20 to 56, the substitute faculty, which is a special pay, just want to let everyone know that the way that the CSU salary schedule works for this particular job code, there is no real variance with the numbers. Just based on their rank, they already have a set amount, a set hourly rate for their lecture or their lab rate, depending on the type of class that they're subbing for. The system doesn't really allow us to, like when we're trying to issue out pay, if it doesn't match these amounts, it kind of causes some issues along the way. So I want to make sure that, please check the CSU salary schedule if you're able to, or if you have questions on what the substitute pay should be as far as their hourly rate, please reach out to Faculty Affairs or myself, and we can advise on that.
Right, and we have actually a salary schedule on the compensation link on our website, so you can look there and you'll see the rates for each of the ranks.
Perfect. All right, I think that's it as far as the Faculty Affairs portion, and then we move on to HR. So thank you so much, team. Thank you so much, Albert, Kim, Ashley. Really appreciate all your contributions.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. All right, so now on to background checks. So as far as when the position has been offered, and now it's time to undergo this background check. So all those that are needed to have a background check are those that are all new or rehired faculties. So the rehired in the sense that those have been separated for 12 months or more. And yes, faculty must have a current and cleared background check on file in order to work. But yes, as far as the background check, in order to initiate this, they need to have, so contingent offers must be extended in order to initiate the background check. And these requests are done through a chargeback system. There are, exceptions to this, but that's done through the background check limited exception form that would need to be completed and sent over. Also, another exception as far as the background checks is the student employees. In this case, germane to what we've been talking about is the TAs and the GAs, but also the ISAs would not need to do a background check unless they are required by law. I know in my previous presentation that I conducted yesterday, I mentioned some of those parameters, usually the ones who handle very sensitive information, have access to, patient info, drug information, cash handling, working with minors. Those are the kinds of, the examples I would have of those that need to have a background check required by law. But other than that, student employees, they don't need to have a background check. But should you have questions on this process, please reach out to backgroundchecks@csun.edu. So as far as the sign-in process, so who will need to sign in? So that'd be all new faculty and all the other Unit 11s that are mentioned there, as well as all rehired faculty and Unit 11 employees. So separated for 18 months or more, they would need to complete sign-in paperwork again. We're asking that this is completed on or before August 21st, 2024, the first day of the fall semester. That's just per the I-9 rules that this needs to be completed by the time that their work is slated to begin. Otherwise, that the effective date may need to change because of that. They wouldn't be eligible to work until everything has been complete. But yes, if the background check is still pending, HR will hold the sign-in packet until the background check clears or the approved limited exception form is received. So whichever comes first. To schedule a sign-in appointment, please email HR customer service, it's all one word, HR customer service @csun.edu. Currently, their office hours are Monday through Friday by appointment only. And they've asked me to reiterate this and to mention this, is that please provide all new hires with a new employee sign-in form as it is required for appointment scheduling. And this form must be completed by the department. So yeah, so the sign-in paperwork that's relevant to what we're discussing. So the cleared background check, the new employee sign-in form, a copy of the SC1, so that's statement of professional experience. The faculty degree verification is currently being handled internally by HR. So that doesn't usually need to be provided along with the sign-in paperwork. And yes, acceptable documents to complete Form I-9. So that is in regards to identification and employment authorization. So and/or there's a whole sheet involved in the new employee sign-in form that I believe delineates out which are the forms that would be acceptable in order to complete this. And yes, there's also that new faculty sign-in express document that they would just need to fill out. I believe it's 2 or 3 sheets that they can just kind of auto-populate all the information onto the rest of the forms. So it kind of makes it a lot easier to fill out this information. But yes, more resources are available on our website, and I included the hyperlink below. But yes, upon sign-in completion, so these faculty members or Unit 11 employees will receive a proof of sign-in, and for faculty, they will receive their user credentials, email, and CSUN ID memo. Then I believe the records and registration office at Admissions and Records is open. They're not actually called admissions records anymore. I think it's just records and registration. They're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 4 for walk-ins and CSUN virtual ID processing. And as far as info on benefits, so as far as benefit eligibility, there currently is no changes as far as what's been noted on our website. So posted there, the benefits website would have more information as far as what the benefit eligibility would be. And yes, the deadline to enroll in benefits, if they are eligible, so that would be September 20th for those fall hires. And when their I guess their coverage would be effective would be October 1st for medical, dental, and vision. And then for Flex Cash or those flexible spending accounts, that would be November 1st, 2024. For spring hires, that'd be February 14th. And then like the dates that are below as far as the coverage begin date. Currently open enrollment is September 16th through October 11th. Those changes are, once they are effective, they will be effective January 1st, 2025. So it'll be for the next calendar year. We also have a benefits and wellness fair So it's currently slated for September 25th, 9 to 11 at the USU. There will also be a virtual fair on October 2nd, 2024, but there will be more information that will be sent out. And should you have questions on benefits specific questions, I also provided the contacts here as noted below. So we had to reference this when you're able to pull up the slide deck that will be posted on the HR toolkit. Yes, okay, on to the part-time faculty module. The kind of the nitty-gritty. Once all this is kind of ready and you're able to submit these transactions into the module, these are the 4 codes that you would be able to submit in the part-time faculty modules. That'd be the 2354 teaching associate, the 2355, the graduate assistant, and also, as Kim mentioned earlier, the 2325, the monthly graduate assistant. However, although it is presented there in the part-time faculty module, we would prefer if you sent over a PAR, a personal action request form, over to us. That way we can conduct their hire and their separation in the same transaction. That way they aren't overpaid just because they are paid on, they're not paid on that AY kind of schedule and then are automatically separated. Their payments would technically keep going if they're left active. So we want to make sure that to prevent any kind of overpayment, we process it all in one fell swoop. And obviously the RO3 that would be available in the part-time faculty module would be the 2058. So part-time faculty, the lectures. So tenure line faculty would not be submitted through this module. So your options may vary, but as far as how I've found that how it would look as far in the CSUN portal, you would go to your selection of HR admin, and then you would select the part-time faculty selection. And that should take you over to this page. So put a little screenshot here of the part-time faculty search page. This is kind of like the main page where you would start the process. The required information would be the department and the job code that this is being submitted for. And then to search the faculty member in particular that you want to hire, you need to enter in at least one of those search fields. Just to ensure that you're hiring the correct employee. You want to make sure you fill something in, otherwise it won't let you proceed. At this point, then it will take you to the page that says part-time faculty search results, and it'll pull up a list of the name. So in the case that you pull up using their name, there is the potential that there shows multiples if they have a very common name, but ideally if you search with their employee ID or their national ID, it should just pull up the employee in question. From here, you can select hired new PTF employees, so the section I highlighted there. So that would be the default to HIRCON. As far as the nomenclature that we use for action reasons, that would be the selection there. But as far as the other job actions that are available for a continuing faculty member or one that's already had a record here on campus or has an active record. So the codes here are CAN, so that's for a cancellation of appointment. TIM, so that's if you need to do a time-based change, either time-based increase or a decrease, and a reappointment. So REA is the code for that. So that's if you want to extend their appointment. So if, let's say they are going to be teaching in the fall, but then in the spring, you would also be doing a reappointment of a 1 semester appointment, then you would be using that selection. From here, this is just kind of like an example of what this could potentially look like for the fall. So you would select that inactive employee. You would then update their paid units. I obviously blurred out the information that it's level 1 data. I don't want to be showing that. But as far as the job data section at the bottom, that's kind of what that's kind of what's important here. You'll be updating the paid unit section, and then also selecting the duration of appointment. And also the appointment end date should be defaulting based on the selection and duration appointment. The appointment end date should auto-populate. And then you would hit save, and then the transaction should be ready for approval. And just to let everyone know as far as our processing dates of when we expect all this to be done. And also just to clear up, the pay period would be August 21st through to the end of September. So it's kind of combined. So we're not going to be paying out that first part of August. That doesn't get paid out until the end, during their settlement pay, at the end of their either the sixth installment or their 12th installment if they're teaching a full academic year. So really their first payment that they'll be receiving will be in October. And yes, the keying deadlines that we're asking for departments to enter into the part-time faculty module are Tuesday, August 27th, 2024 for the keying deadline, and then for the approvers to make sure that that's done by the 28th. The reason for that is because we are conducting our mass separation of all academic year or previous academic year employees. We want to make sure that if you needed to reappoint them, extend them, make sure that's all done before we go ahead and do that separation on the 29th. Also important to note is our master payroll certification dates. So we'll go into that in a little bit later in the presentation, but as far as the deadlines that are posted on the university payroll calendar, that's September 12th for the initial, and then September 17th for the final master payroll certification. So yes, so although I'm saying deadline in this case, that doesn't mean that the module closes. So even if you do get transactions that are late, please continue to enter them through the part-time faculty module instead of setting a par. If they are a simple transaction like the one that I had mentioned earlier. Obviously, if it's a correction of some sort, then yes, a par would be needed. But yes, like I mentioned, the deadline is to ensure that all entries for this upcoming academic year are done before the mass separation of the previous academic year employees by August 29th. And so, like I mentioned, the PAR that keeps coming up, the PAR form. So that's the personal action request form. This is used when a correction or an action is needed that can't be done through the module. So you saw it only had certain options, the reappointment, time-based change, a hire, cancellation, but the PAR form is really for any kind of correction or anything else that falls outside of that. For example, if you're rehiring an employee from several academic years ago that their salary is now outdated, the system will let you proceed. It's just sort of like a barrier just to ensure that we are reviewing their salary and that it's at least meets the current minimum for their rank that they'll be hired into, as well as hiring a lecturer who is teaching 15 units. So at 1.0 FTE, the system only allows you to submit up to 14.8, I believe. But if they are teaching a full-time equivalent workload, then yes, they would need a PAR form in order to process that on our system. On the HR toolkit, we'll have the part-time PAR list, and that should have the descriptions and templates available to you. Yeah, like I mentioned before, it's not needed to hire after entry deadline if you are able to enter into the module. But we just ask that you notify us if a late entry is entered, just so that we can ensure that that's it. Also, you need to reach out to your DFO to approve, but also to notify us, just so we can kind of expedite the process and send it over to payroll. So we're asking, yes, that you have your PARs into HR, preferably by the beginning of the fall semester. And this is specific to a particular kind, especially those that are rehired annuitants or FERPs. We are asking to have it by that date. Obviously things happen. Obviously things kind of get stuck in approval queues, or, we're able to work with you, but just so you're aware of our deadlines, like I mentioned before, we are just kind of asking that we have your cooperation on this to have these PARs done in a timely manner. So yeah, just a little chart to kind of explain a little bit more. So what you're able to do in the module. So those are hires, time-based changes, either decreases or increases, cancellations, rehires, or reappointments. So what would go on a PAR? For example, any kind of correction. If an employee is going on a leave of absence, that would be done through a PAR. if they need to be adjusted to full time. And yes, I bolded rehired annuitants just because based on a new kind of rule from CalPERS, if a rehired annuitant or FERP employee isn't processed or any of their transactions are done within 30 days of that effective date, the campus takes a financial hit on each transaction. I think it's to the tune of $500 every time. So just to prevent these kinds of issues from arising, we are asking that you are timely with your submission of PAR forms for rehired annuitants and FERPs. But yes, please check out other samples on the HR toolkit. Should you have more questions, please feel free to reach out to your HR operations technician as well. All right, so winding down the presentation, just wanted to cover a little bit on Master Payroll Certification. So MPC for short. So what does it mean to certify? It is a chance for departments to review all their salaried employees scheduled to be paid for a given pay period. If the employee is entitled to full or partial pay, you would just need to certify the employee along with the corrected note in the comment box. And yeah, so I just provided some examples there of what that would look like. And exceptions to look for, that would be terminated employees, if they're on unpaid leave, assignment changes, or they're new hires or rehires with an effective date higher than final MPC. Yes, so the initial versus the final, and I provided 2 dates for that. What you're able to capture on the initial. So this is to make sure that all changes are entered prior to 6 a.m. on the MPC initial date in order to be reflected on the Master Payroll Certification list. On that final, only terminations, new hires, rehires, and dock days will be showing up only if approved. So obviously there are cases where something isn't on the Master Payroll Certification, but you need to make sure that it's reflected. So you would use the MPC exception form. So yeah, if employees are not reflected on there, or any hire or rehire, like a late hire, is entered into the module after final MPC. So after that date of September 17th, then yes, the form would be needed. And yes, for mid-semester time-based changes, you just need to certify the MPC and leave a comment for payroll. So if you have further questions on this in particular, please contact your payroll technician. Yes, so onto separations. So for monthly TAs, GAs, when they've been approved, they need to be separated via a PAR. So like I mentioned, if they are going to be hired on, we are asking that you send it over to PAR. That way we can do the hire and the separation kind of in one transaction. The ISAs are terminated through the student module. So those, although we haven't really spoken, or we did speak a bit on ISAs, but as far as they're transacting, that's done through the student module, not through the part-time faculty module that I was talking about today. As far as resignations, like the faculty affairs team said, or real emphasis on documentation. This is really important. And to ensure that you have a timely submission of PARs and separation clearance forms to ensure that their payments are, and their payment and their settlement is all taken care of within, I believe it's the 48 to 72 hour turnaround time for the mass separation. So GAs are separated before the February and July payroll cutoffs. The spring 2024 only, so the lecturers who only worked in spring, they have just been separated through a mass process that our HRIS team operates. So that would apply to the TAs and the 2358s. So for those who have a AY, so Y1 TA or 2358 position, we are going to be running that closer to the 29th, but it'll show an effective date of August 21st. But yes, we're ensuring that you reappoint these if they are going to be continuing as soon as possible, just to prevent them from being separated unnecessarily. Yes, and just wanted to reiterate, so PARs, to wrap up the previous academic year, as far as PARs for retirements, if an employee is transitioning from or to a 12-month appointment, department chair, also any kind of separation that we needed, that we done through PAR. And yes, for summer session, So summer sessions 1 and 3 PARs, like we had mentioned in a previous summer presentation, those are due on August 16th. So low enrollment adjustments are the majority of these PARs. Yes, make sure to ensure that all summer appointments have been entered. So we need to have those paid out soon. See a question from Myrna.
Yes, just a quick question, make sure that I understand what you're saying. So all faculty that were taught during summer, including the chair of department, require a part to separate?
Sorry, I maybe I
As you
misspoke.
said, you need a part separation for summer, for chairs that taught during summer.
No. Sorry, I may have misspoke.
I
So no,
misunderstood.
I meant just their regular appointment. I meant like if they're, moving from AY to 12 months, then that would be a PAR that would be needed on their regular appointment, not on their summer faculty appointment.
Okay, I don't need to do anything for the summer faculty
No,
appointment?
no,
Okay.
just to transact their pay would be
Got
the
it.
PAR, in particular to department chairs. But no,
Okay, that has been-
sorry, go ahead.
No, I said that was done. I just thought that I needed one. This is the first time I did summer hiring for faculty for full-time. And I was understanding that we had to do a part, but just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no separation needed for the 2457s. But yes, I think that's just about it. So we're going to stay on in case anyone has any questions. But for everyone else, just want to say thank you so much for attending, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.